Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know I've been missing in action for some time now, but I'm back now, and yeah. Today I'll be talking about the taxes that are being introduced or being suggested in Uganda, and also about the age limit petition that's currently being looked at in the courts of law in Uganda. First of all, about the taxes, the first tax that I've heard about is tax that is going to be levied on people that are accessing the internet. You know, um, the internet is already expensive. Accessing the internet in Uganda is quite expensive, and people have to actually put credit on their phones and then turn the credit into something called bundles, which then allows them to access the internet. And this is already expensive. And even then, the internet is not as good as the internet that you'd get elsewhere in the Western world. And when somebody, uploads credit on their phone, within a very short time, the credit has gone. So you have to keep spending more and more. It's expensive already for people to do that. And yet the government now wants to make it even more expensive for them, or wants to make it more difficult for them to be able to access the internet, which I totally do not agree with it, because I think it's a way in which they're trying to push people into the corner, and it's not a good thing. The people that are actually going to suffer the most are the low income earners, because they don't have much that's going on for them, and yet the best way for them to access information, to sensitize themselves, and to learn about what's going on around the world is through the internet. And if somebody bought, say, credit on their phone, say for 5,000 Ugandan shillings, which is equal to a pound, it won't be it won't take them very long before the credit runs out, and they'll not have done anything much with it, and yet that is 5,000. I'll say for credit in Uganda is a lot of money, to be honest. It may be a pound, and a pound may not sound that much, but when you change it into Ugandan shillings, it's something. So anyway, I don't think it's right for the government to come up and say, they need to, levy tax on people using the internet or accessing the internet. And I think they said it will cost about 100 shillings on every person every day. And the thing about taxes in Uganda, taxes are collected, yes, but where the taxes end up, nobody knows. Now that brings me to the second issue of the taxes that are being proposed to be levied also on road users, who claiming that the money that will be collected will be used to make to maintain the roads, apparently. Now look here, something like that kind of proposal can only not draw suspicion from people who, I wouldn't want to call them dumb, but because for whoever else is alert, or whoever else has been interested in the politics and the way the government has been running things in Uganda, we all know very well that a lot of money, day in day out, a lot of money has constantly been embezzled, money that is meant to be used for construction of roads and the maintenance of roads. A lot of the times they've actually had to to summon people, to summon some of the ministers to explain why some roads are not yet constructed, or why some roads are taking too long to be constructed, or why some roads are not being maintained very well, so which they fail to do a lot of the time. So a lot of money is embezzled, money that is supposed to actually be used for things like this, because if you're saying now you want to get money from the same people that are already paying other taxes, you want to collect taxes from more people, you want to collect more taxes from the same people who are already paying lots of taxes, and yet they're not earning much. The cost of living in Uganda has gone high, and yet the salaries have pretty much stayed the same, or haven't gone that high. If at all people have been given a salary increment, it's not a big percentage, which is really absurd, because if people need to take their children to school, to good schools at that, and have a good living as well, then they need to be earning much better than they're earning currently. But anyway, why propose to collect taxes to maintain roads, yet you have failed to manage the money that you allocate specifically for the construction of roads and maintenance of roads? So why don't you get back that money from the same politicians or the same ministers who are embezzling that money? Get it back from them, get it back from their bank accounts, from their pockets, and put it into the pot that is meant to maintain the roads and meant to construct good roads for people. I just don't like the way the way the government comes out. You see a minister addressing the public and addressing journalists, and without any ounce of shame, saying things, uttering things that they should not even be uttering in the public eye, honestly. The way you would stand over there and say, oh, I will be collecting taxes from people. Apparently the president said, oh, why they're going to levy tax on Wi-Fi, and the internet or whatever, is because people use the internet a lot for gossiping. What kind of nonsense? People are using the internet. If you're calling WhatsApping gossiping, then I think you're quite behind the curtains, and you don't actually understand what exactly is going on. In my own understanding, I think they've realized the power of social media, in terms of passing information from one person to another, and in terms of rallying people, or making things happen. Basically, they are quite threatened right now by the power of the social media and the power of the way people are now very much like enlightened about how to do things on the internet. So I think the government is quite worried about that, especially that they're trying now so hard to have their way, and push for the presidential age limit and all that kind of thing. They know elections are very close, and people are getting much stronger at the game of using social media. So I think they're quite worried about that. Okay, another thing is, currently there's a petition that was made in court regarding the age limit removal that had been done by the members of parliament. So I'm very glad that one of the justices actually said that he doesn't think what was done by the members of parliament in Uganda was right, because if they claim that the constitution allows them to vote and remove the age limit and term limits in the constitution, or in the parliament, then he thinks there might come a time when the same members of parliament might decide, what, we need to take away all these term limits and make ourselves members of parliament for good, for life, which is very wrong. And things like this, because to me, I look at it like this is misuse of power. Yes, you knew it was in the constitution that the members of parliament have the right to vote for or against the removal of the age limit or the term limits for themselves as members of parliament, but you should not bring in, how do I say it? You shouldn't start something, or poke something, or basically you shouldn't scratch something that is not itching, if you get my point. Like, if something is going on well, first leave it, just leave it like that. Don't start poking something or scratching something where it's not actually itching, because at the end of the day, what if it backfires on you? And that's exactly what the members of parliament did. They thought themselves being so wise, and let's take away the term limits, let's take away the age limit, and let's extend our time in parliament from 5 years to 7 years, which is wrong. That's greed, you know. That is being very greedy, and most of them have embezzled money. Most of them have, you know, have done all kinds of dubious things, you know. But they're the same people who have voted for themselves to stay in, you know, to stay in leadership for, you know, for a longer time, for 7 years and not 5 years. So I think, you know, the way the justices that are looking at this petition, the way they should be able to vote should go in line with what they actually saw, you know, when the members of parliament went to consult with the public. They should vote in line with what they saw, what the people thought, and what the people asked the members of parliament to go back and do in the August House. Of course, they went back and did the opposite of what the public had sent them in there to do. But let justice prevail, and I hope and pray that all the judges that are seated in that court will actually look beyond, you know, all the threats and whatever, you know, that's coming on from, you know, from the higher, you know, from up there, whatever it's called, you know, and they'll be able to use their own conscience and do the right thing. Basically, let them just do the right thing. That is all we ask of them, you know. And I look forward to seeing how it's all going to turn up. I really look forward to seeing how it's all going to turn up. But, you know, like I said, like I tweeted before, you know, I don't have much, a lot of people do not have much faith in the Ugandan, you know, judicature, really. The courts of law, you don't really have much faith in them because of, you know, the things we've come seeing in the past, you know. So it doesn't really make sense, you know, convincing ourselves that, you know what, it's going to turn out differently this time, because we've already seen what they've done, you know, year after year in, year out. So myself, really, I don't expect much. I don't really expect much, to be honest. I don't expect them to, you know, to be able to give the people what people have asked for, you know, or for justice to prevail. But I could be wrong, you know. Let's see what happens anyway, you know. I could be wrong about it, and I hope I'm wrong, you know. Let them do something that will restore our faith in, you know, in the justice system in Uganda. Otherwise, I think it's so useless to say that you have, you know, a justice system in Uganda, or you can never rely on the courts. You can never rely on the judges and their outcomes and decisions. You just can never rely on them anymore, really. But let's see what this petition will bring out of it, you know. I'm seeing it going in a positive way, but yeah, let's see what happens, really. Thanks, guys. Yeah, subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.